labor that's involved. So for the most part, most customers will come in and hire me to make the wine.
And I'm sure the wine comes out a lot better if the expert does it, right?
Well,
if it's your first time, you might get something
actually, that's not really true anymore.
No?
The kits are fairly straightforward. What the big difference has been is a lot of people think of homemade wine from years ago when it was your neighbor who came from Europe and crushed grapes himself. And in those cases, what he took was whatever the grape provided for him, whatever the terroir provided, and the grape that year was the wine they got. Now we have a little more technology involved. In fact, all the wine kit companies have their own vintners. So they test the must to produce a consistent, because they have to year-round produce a consistent wine. So they're testing for pH and alkalinity and bricks and all those things to produce a consistent wine. So I've had lots of wine that I poured down the sink myself from good-willed neighbors who had brought me a bottle of homemade wine that was undrinkable. And this is a considerable step away from it. This is much more comparable to commercial wines. We use the same vintners.
What I'm picturing is a bunch of packets with powders.
No.
No?
Well, there are some powders involved. There are some additives that we put in, but for the most part, what we start with is a grape concentrate, which is juice that has had most of the water removed.
It's not like a Kool-Aid kit, you know.
Well, it's not quite like that.
Imagine that.
Our grapes in the industry come from around the world. So for shipping purposes, they'll dehydrate the juice a little bit before they ship it. So then we have to rehydrate it a little bit with a little water. But it is coming as a juice concentrate that we'll mix together into a primary pail. Now there are some additives that we'll put in to the benefit. We'll put in a yeast nutrient maybe, and we'll put on additives that will help it ferment a little faster, because we actually make wine in anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, you have something that speeds up the process, don't you?
Absolutely. We have accelerator kits that can do it in 7 days. They came out around Christmas time for people who were coming in December and saying, can I still make wine for Christmas? And the answer this year was, yes, we can. We have these 7-day accelerator kits, which actually can speed the process up and have wine ready in 7 days.
Yeah, sorry, Kash, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what is that speeding up agent in there?
Well, what it really is it's a turbo yeast, which is just a much faster acting yeast, and we add a super nutrient to it. Okay. So what we do is we just create the most favorable environment possible for the yeast to work. So where a carboy like this, when it's working, will sit here and bubble about once every second or two under normal circumstances. With the turbo yeast in there, it sounds like a rapid-fire machine gun, the way it's bubbling away there. And it's done in 3 or 4 days. Well, but that's the 7-day accelerator kit. And again, the only reason we use those if there's some reason that you want it to get done quickly.
Sure.
So there's the odd customer who will come in and they have run out of wine. They've been making wine and they've run out. So then we'll do a 7-day accelerator kit and we'll do a regular kit.
See, my question is now, you're putting in turbo yeast and accelerator kits. Does that take away from the quality of the wine at all? That doesn't seem right.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but you have to realize, too, the 4- and 6-week kits are like about a quarter of the time that a winery will use, too. So we're already using a faster yeast. It may have some slight effect on the quality. I did my own taste test. I did a kit the regular way, and then I did a 7-day accelerator kit because I wanted to check myself. I personally couldn't tell the difference between the two. I tested one that was about 8 weeks old and one that was actually 7 days after I had started the fermentation. I was drinking the wine, and I couldn't tell the difference. I may not have the greatest palate in the world, but I have some training in it, and I have a reason.
Well, haven't you been doing this for over 20 years?
I've been making wine for over 20 years now. I just opened the store about 1.5 years ago. So this was basically turning my home-based knowledge into a commercial knowledge, and that was what I had to figure out.
So what does one do? They think to themselves, maybe I'll make my own wine.
Right.
Where do they go from there?
Well, there's really
your
two
place.
steps. Absolutely.
Chateau Vizot Wines in Brooklyn.
Right. Well, there's really 2 steps is all that is required of the customer. The first step, and it's the most difficult one, is choosing the wine you want. And that's the one that most people have the trouble with. They'll come in.
Wine tasting, though?
Unfortunately, that is illegal. That's illegal. We're not allowed to keep any finished wine on the premises.
Wow.
So people will come in and they'll choose their wine. Now, if you already know what you want, you can be in and out in 5 minutes. The other thing you have to do on the first day is you have to start the fermentation, which is a combination of adding the yeast and helping to mix the ingredients. So the 2 of us will put the ingredients together into a primary pail. You'll toss the yeast, which is the actual step that starts fermentation. And then that's basically it. So you can be in and out in 5 minutes the first day. Then you come back after it's all finished. So all of the intermediate steps I take care of. That's what you're hiring me